The big leg has started. The Southern Ocean and double points on offer, plus an extra bonus point for whoever it is that rounds Cape Horn first. This leg is going to be crucial. This indeed could decide who it is that lifts the trophy all the way through to the finish line in The Hague. Now, on today's Daily Show, we're going to be talking to Rick Tomlinson, our race expert, to get the lowdown on what's happening out on the race course. Also, we're going to be hearing from Nina Curtis on board Team Brunel. First time for the Volvo Ocean race for her. Plus, we're going to be taking a look back at all the great moments that we've seen in this edition so far, things that you might have missed. Also, crew changes, which ones are important. But first up, let's take a look at the tracker and let's see where the race is right now. It is a very interesting leg, this. Do not rule out the importance. All the way from Auckland, the city of sails, down into the Southern Ocean where the wind and the waves lie in wait before going round Cape Horn and then to the finish line in Itajaí, Brazil. It is 7,600 nautical miles in a straight line, but that is not what the crews have been doing so far. From the start line, it has been upwind, a big battle, 20 knots of winds, and all this has meant tacking, when to go, when to cover, and where to break from the rest. Since rounding East Coast, though, it's been about going south and light winds as well. And indeed, in the last few moments, we've seen Turn the Tide on Plastic, along with Vestas 11th Hour Racing, making some gains as they position themselves further to the east. Light winds for now, but we're not sure what's coming up into the future. We know that the wind and the waves are going to arrive, so we'll have to see just how big it hits. But it's been an incredible leg so far. We're still in the early days, but if you've missed it, this is what it's been like. Okay, you
Coming up to kind of the East Cape in the next few hours and then some downwind sailing, so the end is near for the upwind for the time being, which is good news.
And you yourself can keep up to date with all of this because the tracker is live at the moment. Normally it's live for 24 hours after the start, but we've pushed it 48 hours this time. And if you don't know how to find it, this is how you do it. VolvoOceanRace.com, the website, click on racing, and then it will take you straight to the tracker. If you don't know about raw content, have a little click. Everything that comes off the boat, all the videos and photos goes straight onto here. You can have a little look. You can keep up with all the moves. But take a look at this. If we click on news, this is where all the press releases and everything off the boat goes. Leg 7 crew lists. I'm only interested in who's coming in and who's going out. But I just wanted to flag up just one or two little movements here. Team Axonabel, a little bit of a change. Same with Dongfeng Race Team. Mafre, their first change in a while. Vestas 11th Hour Racing sees Charlie Enright as skipper coming back on board as the boat rejoins the race. Team Sun Hunkai Scallywag, Tom Braywood, 3 times Volvo Ocean Race sailor, steps on. Now, Turn the Tide on Plastic, Nicholas Lundvin steps off. And we made a bit of a stink on the last leg about how profitable it was having 2 navigators on board. This time, just Brian Thompson for the Southern Ocean race. So keep an eye open for that one. On Team Brunel, 2 new sailors, not least Nina Curtis. Now, she was a 2012 Olympian, silver medalist in the match racing, but first time Volvo, first time Southern Ocean leg. And just before we came on air, I asked her how things were shaping up.
It was a pretty crazy start. We had a lot of wind straight off the bat, going upwind as well. So it was really intense to get started, but this afternoon the winds just dropped a little bit. I've had time to catch my breath, but it's been unbelievable. It's been great.
Obviously on the last leg, things didn't go quite as so well for Team Brunel. I'm just wondering, what was the mood like of the crew when you joined it?
I was really impressed with the mood of the crew. They were straight away into looking forwards and trying to get to the bottom of what happened in the last leg, and got to be a part of a lot of those discussions. And yeah, the team was incredibly efficient at addressing like anything that came up on board, and everyone felt pretty confident stepping on the boat yesterday that we could give this leg a really good shot. Yeah, it's a little bit surreal being on board because it happened so quickly, but yeah, I just think it's an incredible race, and yeah, such a going that far, racing for that long is something that I've always dreamed to have a go at.
What is it that the audience just will never know? What part of the race have you got to be there to experience to really know?
Just that there's just no downtime, and even when you come off the boat, it's like everything just gets even harder downstairs, like trying to get your kid off and get into your bed and not get all your gear wet, and even like it's just relentless, and it's even being pretty kind conditions, so I'm really interested to see how it gets when it's proper cold and very intense and very wet. But yeah, it is relentless on day 2, but it's also incredible. It's quite cool to just switch off and focus on just on the boat and making it go as fast as you can around the clock. There's something pretty cool about that too.
From the tracker, we can see right now that you on board Team Brunel, you're right in the midst of it. There's boats all the way around you. It's night at the moment. You can see the lights, I'm guessing. How close does it feel?
It feels really close. I think it's Axo Nobel that came right up behind us, and we can see a few lights in the dark. We're trying to figure out who's who, but we've also closed on the front 2 boats we've been able to see. So yeah, it's really quite intense racing right now. I'm trying to keep the boat powered up and stay out of trouble.
Light winds, but I'm guessing the work rate's still very high.
Yeah. God, the sails are much. Everyone talked about how heavy the sails were. They're really heavy.
All right, Nina, well, thank you so much. We know that you're going to want to take your rest when you can. Thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us.
See you later. Thanks. Bye.
Nina Curtis on board Team Brunel, stepping on for her first Volvo Ocean race, and indeed her first Southern Ocean leg. So I've got Rick Tomlinson, race expert, joining me here. Rick, we know that the Southern Ocean has got a pretty formidable reputation. We know it's going to be wet and wild, but what's the first challenge that these teams are going to face?
Well, they're already into the first challenge. They've just now cleared East Cape, New Zealand. There's a big area of high pressure set up just to the east of New Zealand as well. So they're going to have to skirt around the southern tip of that. So they're going to be going pretty hard south for the next sort of 24 hours before they can get into the Southern Ocean proper and start heading to the east.
Okay, well, you mentioned the Southern Ocean proper. I mean, what actually are we talking about there? Well, wind and waves, but what's it like?
Well, initially we're going to be seeing winds of 25 to 35 knots from the west, so they're going to be going pretty much dead downwind. There's an ice exclusion zone set at about 55 degrees south immediately, and then that comes up to around 52. So they're going to be going as far south as they can to start with, and then they will be jibing along the ice exclusion zone to get as quickly to the east as possible.
And as somebody that's been down there, I mean, Rick has raced in that part of the world and taken some of the most iconic photographs that you could possibly imagine. You've been there. I haven't. Try and explain to me what on earth it's like.
Well, in the Southern Ocean is one of the most fantastic places on the planet. It's the longest runway you'll ever had to go sailing, and going fast downwind day after day is absolutely fantastic. But it's also slightly terrifying as well. It's often very grey, a bit of foggy, and you can't really see sometimes where you're going. There's the risk of ice, although the ice exclusion zone will keep the boats away from any known icebergs. I loved it, and I think most of the crews do, but you also hate it as well.
And of course, let's not sugarcoat this. We know that there is a real danger when you get down there about your equipment. I mean, I'm thinking Dongfeng Race Team, the last edition of the Volvo Ocean Race, they snapped their mast on this leg. I mean, that's got to be a real worry.
I think it is a big worry, particularly for the skippers that carry that responsibility. But everybody has to look after the equipment and after each other, and really the only source of rescue if something serious happens is your competitor. So, it is a tricky area to be in, and I don't think there's ever been a Southern Ocean leg where there hasn't been some major incident on that leg.
Well, that's a very good question. I tell you, if you guys are watching at home and you cast your mind back, has there ever been a Southern Ocean leg where a boat has, all the fleet have emerged unscathed. If you can remember one, then let us know in the comments, because I'm not sure I can think of one either. Okay, well, so we know it's going to be formidable. The teams know that, of course. When does relief arrive?
Well, at Cape Horn, really, and it's going to take them probably another 10, 11 days from now to get to Cape Horn. We probably expect that around the 28th, 29th. And then it's a real psychological thing. You get around Cape Horn, you turn left, you start heading north, it gets warmer by the day, and that's a big psychological relief when you turn that corner.
All right, well, the clock is ticking then. So, Rick Tomlinson, race expert, I know you are going to be following the race every single step of the way. And you can too. Subscribe to the Race Expert Twitter feed at Race Experts if you haven't done so already. That's it for our show today. We've got the quick fix in the morning. We've got another daily show at 1300 UTC. But we're going to leave you, if you needed it, with an update of all the drama and all the action and all the racing that has brought us up to this point. We'll see you tomorrow, but take a look at this.
The first competitive action was the Alicante import race, which saw Mafre send out an early warning to the rest of the fleet as they confirmed themselves as a race favourite, convincingly winning on home turf. The road to the start wasn't as smooth for Dutch entry Team X Nobel. Just days before the start of Leg 1, internal team conflict saw skipper Simeon Tienpont replaced, only to be reinstated hours before the race gun.
5 seconds to go.
Leg 1 was a short sprint through the Strait of Gibraltar to Lisbon.
This is really cool.
Vestas 11th Hour Racing held onto a small lead to take the win over Mafre and Dongfeng race team, an intriguing start to the offshore action. A wet and wild import race on the River Targa saw an incredible battle ensue. Team Brunel only just held off a late charge from Mafre to take line honours.
Maybe they're going to get around them.
Leg 2 was an absolute classic. 7,000 miles south through the doldrums to find the trade winds that would bring them towards Cape Town. The fleet set off from Lisbon heading straight into over 30 knots of wind. The first real test for the teams and the boats, and an early taste of what would lay ahead in the Southern Ocean legs. Mafre once again showed pure boat speed advantage and tactical prowess, getting south early to get around the South Atlantic high, holding off the others in a drag race all the way to South Africa. The import race, held in the shadow of Table Mountain, was sailed in perfect conditions. Vestas 11th Hour Racing were leading the way but had a major sail problem and finally finished fourth. Dongfeng race team sailed consistently fast to take their first win. Leg 3, a monster, 6,500 miles to Melbourne. A first experience of the Southern Ocean for many and the first double point scoring leg. The fleet took off to the south to find the big waves and the big winds. More drama for Team X Nobel. Whilst racing in fourth place, serious damage to the mast-track meant that the team had to slow to attempt a complicated fix at sea. A painful journey to the finish line would see them finish last. A jibing battle between the two leading red boats of Mafre and Dongfeng race team saw multiple lead changes as they pushed as far south as they could, all the way to the ice exclusion zone. Mafre finally getting the better of the French-Chinese team, leading the charge north to a Christmas Eve finish in Melbourne. After a welcome festive rest period in the southern Australian city, the fleet set out back north, encountering another tricky crossing of the doldrums, which saw Sunken Kai Scallywag roll the dice and opt to cut the corner, heading east to lead the fleet towards their homecoming in Hong Kong, although they didn't have it all their own way.
He's run up. Can you see him, Bess? Nipper, out of the way. Can you see him? Hold, just hold. Come here, mate. Stern, mate. We're trying to find new ways to lose the race, though, I must say.
They held out for a fantastic first win in front of their home crowd in the heart of the city. Sadly, approximately 30 miles from the finish, Vestas 11th Hour Racing were involved in a collision with a fishing boat, which resulted in the fatality of a crew member of the fishing vessel. The racing boat suffered serious hull damage, meaning that they would not be rejoining the race in time for Leg 6. The boat would instead be shipped on a container ship to Auckland for the necessary repairs. The Volvo Ocean Race's first visit to Hong Kong was based in the old airport of Kai Tak, where the local fans had 2 import races to enjoy. Team Exeter finally getting some joy, taking their first win in the tricky race on Kowloon Bay.
Beautifully sailed HGC import race, taking the win. Akzo Nobel.
The following day, Mapfre were back to their old winning ways as they dominated a full racing lap of Hong Kong Island. Dongfeng Race Team, however, were the most consistent, finishing both races in second to get maximum points. Another first for the Volvo Ocean Race was the import race in Guangzhou. Thousands of Chinese fans came to see their local heroes on board Dongfeng Race Team, but it wasn't to be their day as they snagged a mark at the start of the race, which left them in last place. Mapfre once again proved to be the boat to beat as they mastered the currents of the Pearl River to take the win. Leg 6 was almost the reverse of Leg 4 as the teams chose their routes back south to Auckland. After days of sailing in the wrong direction,
It's over there, and we're going.
the fleet turned south for an easier than usual doldrums crossing. Team Exeter were the first through the light winds and took a slim lead that they held on to all the way to the finish here on the Waitemata Harbour to become the 4th boat to win a leg in this edition of the race.